me flip this around here. So we're going to do a little introduction as to what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So anyways, good morning. Welcome to One Lonely Farmer. If you haven't been here before, you are now. And if you like what you see, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, well, give me a thumbs down. I don't care. Leave a nasty comment or a nice comment. It's fine. I'm okay with that. So anyways, what I'm working on is this John Deere W235. I've owned this thing since new. It's got a 994 flail conditioner, what you call a flail conditioner. And I like the flail conditioners over the other ones, not so much for alfalfa, but for, grass hay. Now, why would I even talk about alfalfa? Well, alfalfa is back on the menu, boys and girls. Not sure when I'm going to start that project, but it's probably going to be sooner rather than later, and it's always good to take the string off of your impellers. It does shred them up eventually, and then they're gone, but for the most part, just before it shreds it up and leaves this plastic all over your fields. Now, the reason this thing is loaded with this plastic right now is because I cut a farm yesterday that was second cut, and I'm going to be seeding down I'm going to reseed it while it stands. Some of it I'm going to kill with glyphosate and just run it over, and some of it I'm just going to run it over with a combination of Timothy and K31, Kentucky 31, or tall fescue, like the tall fescues. Tall fescues work really, really good, but they are nitrogen whores. I'll use that word, nitrogen whore, because nitrogen, it takes a lot of nitrogen. So what I've got is a set of knives that are just smacking into one another, and I'll show you what I've discovered and how to fix it, hopefully. I'm pretty sure I can fix it this way. So John Deere does things differently than other manufacturers, and I will explain this as I go through this. I'm going to flip it around here. But John Deere cutter bars, I really like this mower. This mower is second to none, the best mower I've ever owned in my life. The case has had its quirks and issues. Wore a header out on the case, and within the time frame that I've used this with less acres on it. So the John Deere is a more durable machine. Quieter, smoother riding, faster down the road, faster in the field. Getting ready to need new tires on it. They're good for 1 year, and they've actually outlived their usefulness. They're 9 years old already. I bought this in the spring of 2015. Yes, the spring of 2015. If you've been around long enough, you will know that I bought this in the spring of 2015 because you were here when I did it. So here's the deal, and I'm going to flip it around right now, and I'm going to explain that the differences between a John Deere and, say, the Case. I'm not sure about Massey Ferguson or Agco products, but I'm pretty sure they really work about the same as what about the same as what the New Holland does, and not quite so much this way. So when you get into the wider headers, like this header is 14.5 feet, it's not quite 15, whereas the New Holland or Case it's the same thing, mind you. The Case is 15.5. It's about a foot difference, which you don't even notice in the field, or even when you're baling, you just can't tell the difference. But a foot, every 15 passes, you lose one pass if you're accurate. So I don't use GPS on this one, even though I could, and I probably should, and maybe I'll mount it up in there. I don't know. The whole thing sits over there. I could put the globe on it and give it a shot. But anyways, what I was talking about with that is New Holland is wider, and this one will turn inward, this one will turn the opposite direction, and then it'll throw it into an auger, which then feeds the impeller or just a straight drop like I've got. So they always alternate, boom, 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 boom. Whereas John Deere doesn't have an auger. There's a lot less moving parts in a John Deere. This one turns the same direction as this one, and this one, and this one. And then this one turns the opposite direction. This one turns the opposite direction. And this one turns, yeah, this, okay, so let's see. This is a left, yeah, left, 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 right, 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 and right. Okay? So, kind of weird, right? I would think that, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with the way they turn. But they got to miss one another, right? And this one here has hit something, probably a rock or something like that. Same with this one here. But it's not. This one here is colliding with this one here, and this one is colliding with this one as well. Now, when you go to set these things so that they're right, you want them to be even across. All right, so even across, as even as you can get them. This is pretty even. If you notice that this here is over a hole, this one here is over a hole, this is halfway, this is halfway. This one is not over a hole, but this one here is over a hole. See, to this hole, so you can change the blade. What is wrong here? Why is that like that? How can that be, right? So I'm going to tell you. So John Deere has two positions with their gear hub. I could change the rotation of these if I felt that it was striping. This machine does not stripe. It doesn't. The blades are sharp and going the right direction. You will not get that striping in the field. Striping doesn't bother me at all. It never has. I don't think it's ever going to. If it's striping and you can't fix it, it's probably because you're going too fast or your blades are dull. The other thing is, well, let's go back. The way to correct the striping is that, and I'm going to pop this off of here, and I'm going to show you that you can adjust the hub or the gear set that's below it. I'm not going to take it apart. I'm not going to do that. But there is different holes, and you turn that hub, and it'll either engage the gear on this side, or it'll engage the gear on the other side, which, because there's intermediate gears in there as well, it'll engage the right or the left, which will change the rotation of the turtle. Makes no difference. The turtle will cut the same. They're non-directional. The only thing that's directional are the blades. Now, this machine has a shock hub. I will show you a shock hub. Give me a second. I'll be right back, and I'll get you a shock hub. Now, hold on. You know, I guess if I knew how to use my camera. All right, so I'm going to leave you right where you're at. There's two different types of shock hubs on this machine. This is the shock hub. This shock hub has been in this machine now for a while because we generally don't break the shock hubs. But I'll show you. You see those teeth that are in there? These teeth right here? I don't know if you can or not, but there's like, what is it, 2, 4, 6, 7 teeth in that thing. So if you hit an obstruction hard enough, a fence post, like a wooden fence post, a rock, rocks generally don't cause the shock hubs to break. But if you wrap it up with, say, a wad of baling twine or something, it'll shear those teeth right off. That's what it'll do. It'll shear them right off. So I probably should get a wire brush. Give me a second. All right. So there's some indicators on this. Now, I haven't changed one of these in quite some time. I mean, it's quite a while. But if you look here, there's a dent right here, right? Okay. And right, where in the hell is that thing? Right here, right there, is a line. Now, when I pop the top of this thing off, there's going to be a line in the shaft. There's going to be a line in the shaft. You have to line that shaft up. I think it's going to be like an arrow. I can't remember. It's been so long. Don't get me. We very rarely change these. They just never break. I have broke them, but it's been a while. So this little dent here has to fit in one spot or another. And there's a notch there, like for a bolt or something. And I'll have to get into it. But if it doesn't line up correctly with that, and this, then you have to turn one full rotation or half a rotation, and then it should line up. If that doesn't line up, then that's why it causes this to be off center from the rest of the rest of them. And what that does, and I'll show you, because it is not correct, what'll happen is right there. See that? It hits, and it chews the hell out of it. And then if you go over here, let's see, is it gonna hit on that one? It's not. It's only gonna be hitting on this one. So it just hits. So if you can see that now this is center, and that one's off, and this one's off, and this one's off. So we can do that test here as well to see, hold on a second, if there are any others. That one's where it belongs, this one's where it belongs, this one's where it belongs, and this one's where it belongs. So this one is not oh, come on, you dirty dog. Yeah, maybe I'll go the other way. No, that's fine. So what you want to do, and it's a quick guide, make sure that the bolt is lined up with the hole in the bottom, and then you can address the one that is either placed wrong or when you're changing the shock hub. So with this thing being like this, I didn't do this. It was either Tim or Grant had done it. And, you know, they broke a shock hub. This has been a while ago. And they just didn't know the procedure, because the procedure's in a box that this comes with. And that procedure gets misplaced when it gets wet. If you get caught in a rainstorm, that thing, it always gets wet. It turns into an unreadable mess, and it gets thrown away. And that's the end of it. And you have to remember. So anyway, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pop these off of here, and probably going to speed the whole thing up so that you can see what I'm talking about here. Let me flip this around and put you in a position here that you can see what I'm doing. So I've got a hammer here, and you're going to understand why I have the hammer here in a second. It's pretty simple. The bolt size for the bolt size for the turtle is 17 millimeter. 17 millimeter. The bolt size for the blades are 18 millimeter. So that's one thing I absolutely hate when it comes to working on anything with metric. I hate metric. I know that my friends from England, they love metric because it's in bits of 10, I guess, in a measurement of 10. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to get that off of there with this thing. Let me get a different impact socket. This one's a long one. I need a short, so just bear with me here. So yes, it comes in increments of 10, right? So when you're going from a, say, 17 millimeter to an 18 millimeter, it's not going in increments of 10. It's going in increments of 1 millimeter. The difference between 1 millimeter and 16 millimeter, 17 millimeter, if you're not trained or don't use them all the time, you just can't see it with the naked eye. And that's one thing I absolutely love about the, fraction system. Because with fractions, you can see it. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. Now, hopefully I can get that sucker to go on there. I don't know. Yeah, so fractions, 1/2 inch, 9/16, you can see with the naked eye without any issues at all. So I know that people that deal with metric all the time hate fractions. They really do. And sometimes when I'm working, I know MIG, gas or gasless, or flux core or gas, And yeah, MIG-TIG, flux core, gas, whatever. All right, so you're watching me do this. You know what I'm about to do. I'm going to weld a new nut to the top of this piece of shit metric bolt, which I probably don't have a spare of. I'll have to go buy one. All right, what you want to glue on. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So what this is doing is it's actually doing a couple of things when you weld them like this. And I'm hoping that I don't ruin my camera, because a lot of times this freaking welding splatter or spatter goes right to the camera lens and destroys it. So what this is doing is it's putting a new nut on the top of that old bolt that's stuck because it was metric. And it's heating the old bolt up. That is probably rounded off in there. And it is making a very nice platform for me to grab a hold of it with, I'm guessing, an inch and an eighth, right? Now, of course, that doesn't look like inch and an eighth. It's got to be 15/16. Of course, you can screw up with your standard sizes as well. I'm not going to lie. It does happen. But for me, not so much, for a simple reason. I am used to the standards. I know there's several fellas on here that are probably saying, quit your complaining, right? But did you see how easy that was? Came right out. She's smoking like a bitch too. So anyways, with the thread sizes on those bolts, you know, the thread sizes, the ones that you don't know what they are, and it could be one of three. Well, you could tell whether it's a fine, the difference between the fine or the coarse. But if you've got a coarse and you're looking down the line and you're not really used to it, you have to go and say, is that the ultra fine or is that the medium fine? Whereas in standard, you only have two. You have coarse and fine. You kick it up. I mean, I guess you could if you're stupid, but you can't screw it up. So there you go. Now I've got the top off. Yay, took twice as long as it should have. And, you know, there it is. And you can hear the welder. That R Captain's pretty good. I really like it, believe it or not. So, okay. So I'm going to show you what makes this hub unique to any others, if I can flip you around here. And that is right here. You can see, let me get my finger. You see my finger? You see the distance between that's in the pillow block or the block? It's got 4 bolts in it, just like anything else, but it's really close to the hub here, and it's really far away from the hub on this side. So if you take these out, and I want to change the rotation, you know, change that rotation, completely change the rotation to the other direction, you can do that. You just pull these 4 bolts out, and you put the narrow end on this side, and the fat end on that side, and life is good. So here's how. I gotta refresh my stupid head. Let me pop it off there real quick. Hopefully I can get it off with this impact gun. Okay, there it is. So there it is. This is gonna be a long video. Oh yeah, this has got that thing on it. See, that is actually a friction disc, believe it or not. And this, the other side of that. I don't see anything weird in there. That is a sealed upper bearing. So, and you know why it's hitting? I'm going to show you. It's hitting because the shock hub is broke. That's why. Here's the little pieces. So that makes a bunch of sense, right? Makes a bunch of sense. The shock hub is broke. Cool. Did you hear in the beginning of the video, there were 2 different types? You have this type, which goes on the end, and you got this type that goes in the intermediates. And this is the friction disc that holds it in place. Keeps it nice and tight up against that shaft and keeps it from being an asshole. So what you got to do is you got to get a picker, and you got to pick out the little pieces that are in there. And with that, I'm going to have to go see if I can find a flat shock hub. If not, I got to go to John Deere. I do not have one. I have to go to Dear John. But I want to show you how to get these out of here without too much issue. You take a picker. I like the one with the 45 on it. You locate the little bastard, and you have to get them out of there, because if you don't, they go down into the gearbox and cause you an ass ache eventually. Okay? That's just a little shear. There it is. This is the new one with the 6 splines in there. So the instructions for this thing, and I'm going to show you right here with my little pointer. I don't know if you could see it. See that little V mark there? Well, that little V mark has to be lined up with this mark. Hold on. I don't know if you can see it. Let's see. Right here. You can see this mark right there, right at the tip of that. So what you do is you say, okay, here we go. Matter. Anyway, so come here and hold this thing like this instead of being an anti-socialite.
I don't feel good.
Yeah.
Bunties.
You're not bunties. So anyways, here's the deal. So you take that thing there, make sure that it lines up.
Oh, there's an arrow in it.
Yes. With that line there, then you take this guy here. It has its own mark. And make sure that it lines up. Now that makes no damn, you can put it here, you can put it wherever, it doesn't much matter. The thing with it is when you shear the shock hub, that's an indicator to let you know that you've sheared it. So if that no longer lines up with that notch there, then you know that that shock hub is broken. And that's the whole ball of wax. So ready? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, go! And there you're deaf.
Yeah.
And that's the end of that. So, there, that's good. Now I gotta take my end here.
Let it hold this little niblets and pieces.
Watch your fingers. So that goes like so, right? And it'll go like that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the bolts in. The problem that I have is that I don't have all the bolts because metric. Do you know what metric is? You want to know what metric is? Metric is stupid.
Why is it stupid? It's just a different sizes.
It's because there's no standardization to it. The only thing that's standard in the metric system is that it is in increments of 10. Where the hell are you? You're hiding back there. It's in increments of 10. But the head of this thing, so this is, I believe, an M12. It is the coarser of the M12 threads. There's 3 different types of threads for the metric system. Stupid. Just have 2, coarse and fine. You don't need that intermediate one. It's dumb. And the other thing is that this bolt here is an M12. It's an M12 nut there, right? That's an M12 nut. Same as this. Same effing thing, right? The only difference is that M12 nut is a different size. And that's where it gets me. Because it's 17 millimeter to tighten up and loosen up this thing, the turtle, right? 17 mil, right? Same thing. But it won't fit on that same M12. It's an 18 millimeter. So it isn't always in increments of 12. It's in increments of 1 as well. And it's pointless. I think they should go in increments of 2. So if you got an M12 or an M11 or an M9, you could do 3. You can use an 18 millimeter to take it on and off. But no, that's not how they do it. It's just, yeah, it's another way to sell you tools is what it is. And they strip out, they just suck. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of Europeans and Japanese and whatever, Brits and whatever, just there cringing and saying, you just complain too much. No, when you're used to the standard system, there's 2 threads. A 7/16 takes like an 11/16 inch wrench. A 1/2 inch takes a 3/4. It's just whatever. Anyway, there's no there's no in-between sizes. There just isn't. If it's a 7/16 inch bolt, it'll take an 11/16 inch wrench to take it off. Not a 5/8 or an 11/16 or an 11/16 and a 13/16. No, it's going to be one or the other. Always the same. And that's where I think metric goes awry. I think they could really standardize it a little bit more. That's just my stupid opinion on a stupid metric system. I'm going to go.
Let's go.
You know what? I'm going to stick this finger in your ear, bad girl. Anyway, whatever. Right, quit your bitching and let's go. Is that what I'm not going to use that again. But I have another one, which is the same bolt. It's the same thread, but it's longer. See the length of it? This is the 17 mil that would normally fit on those tops. But I can't. I have to use the 18 mil because it's the 18 millimeter. So now I'm going to have an odd one. If they would just settle on one size for the same size bolt, then great. But they don't do that. And it's confusing as shit. It's really, that's my complaint. I'm just on metric today. How big of a complaint it is. And it is the right one because it fits in there, right? Or is this don't tell me this is something even different yet.
Doesn't fit, Ed.
Fits just fine.
Oh, it's a tight fit.
Well, it's rusty. So yeah, it is the same thread. It's the same damn thing. But I have to cut it off, and then I'm going to have this oddball one. So
Click.
I'm looking for a bolt that'll fit in there, that'll work, right? That's going to work. So I've got my choices. I've got this one here. Here's the original one. These are all 1 millimeter apart, right? So here's my 17. I can't put it on the bolt that I'm going to have to use. And I found another bolt, again, metric, 8.8. And here's the 18. Fuck, the 18 won't fit either. So now I got to go with the 19 millimeter. So literally, in my hands, I have the same threads, M12 by, what is that, 1.5. That's what they are. Not a 1.0 or a 1.25 or a 1.0. This is a 1.5. 3 different bolts, all the same thread, all the same hardness, but with 3 different sockets to take it off. This is my bitch. So when I go to, this is my bitch about metric. Not only do you have 3 different size threads that you can have on the same size bolt, but you also have 3 different size tools to take the same size thread and bolt off. So tell me that standard is fucked up, because this is pretty fucked up. How many combinations? What is that, 9?
I get it.
No, 3,
get it.
3.
3, 3, 3.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. So I could have, yeah, there's literally 6 different ways I can make this thing work with 6 different ways of these threads. Compound all that crap together and tell me metric's great. Tell me how great it is. I'll tell you how stupid you are. Anyway, it's just an American complaining about the metric system. And then I got to cut this off anyway.
You just like to bitch.
I do like to bitch. Not really. I just like the shit to work. Okay, so done. Let me show you what I got here. And I'll tell you what it cost too. I bought 2 shock hubs. I bought 6 bolts. I'll show you which bolts. I'm not going to show you the new ones. I've put them away. 6 bolts and 6 nuts to hold the knives on. I changed the knives that needed to be changed. Flipped the knives on the one that I changed the shock hub on, and changed the knives there as well. It didn't need much. It just needed a couple of them done. So for 2 shock hubs, 6 bolts, 6 nuts, and 30 blades of the right-hand direction ones. I believe they are the FH323282 blade. This guy right here, I bought a whole box of them. $383, almost 400 bucks. $383 for just those few little parts.